So good morning again, everyone. So this is the last lecture series of that quick revision topic. Most of the thing we have covered before that: electrostatics, that first mechanics, waves, and thermodynamics. And this topic we will cover electricity, magnetism, and if possible, then modern physics and optics. If not possible, I may take one more video on these things, because guys it is actually a huge things to cover all the things without skipping single things actually, because this is very important for J mains. Now guys, current, you know that actually current is dq by dt. I is equal to dq by dt in an instantaneous when you take limit t tends to 0. So this actually I is equal to delta q by delta t, and when you take limit delta t tends to 0, this becomes dq by dt instantaneous, which we have discussed earlier. Average speed, average velocity, these are all things we have discussed, so I'm not going to give more time in this formula. Now most important formula of current electricity starts from here basically guys. J is equal to NeV drift. You should remember this formula only. If you remember this, J is equal to NeV drift, how you can derive anything? J is current density guys. Current density can be written as current per unit area is equal to NeV drift. So current can be written as NeAV drift. This drift velocity, that's why this formula is written. I is equal to NeAV drift. Now guys, what is drift velocity? Drift velocity is lambda upon t, means length, how much you travel, and this relaxation time. This tau is known as the relaxation time. So if they have given relaxation time and speed, you can calculate lambda, mean free path. Basically this is mean free path. So this is Vd is equal to lambda by t. Now Vd can also be written as drift velocity, can be written, because you know that as V is equal to u plus at. B is equal to u plus at. So I can write this. You initially suppose since when electron travels, they have thermal speed when there is no potential difference applied, and sum of all thermal velocity is thermal speed is 0. So initial speed is 0. I have to consider q. A acceleration can be written as QE by m, because we have earlier discussed F is equal to QE, and when divided by m, this gives you acceleration. Acceleration is equal to QE by m. So QE by m into tau. This is the thing. Actually there is the mistake in this slide also, and this same mistake is repeated in HCV. This is not half of this guys. This is E by m into tau. That's why I have written separately. This is drift velocity as QE by m into tau. Now resistance can be calculated in terms of drift speed also guys. How? See, I is equal to, you have written NeAV drift na? So NeAV drift, and now I'm substituting the value of V drift. NeAV drift is E or QE by m. Q is electronic charge, so you can write E here. If you are writing Q, so Q you can write here also. So, or if you are writing E here, you can write E here. Like here they have written E and E. So NEA or NQA, QE by m into tau. So that this can be written NE square tau by m into NE square tau by m. This actually they have written this term NEA. V drift actually you can write in terms of, so actually I have to calculate this I in terms of NE square tau by m, NEAV drift into A. So this I is equal to NE square, this NE square tau by m. This is not 2 here guys, don't confuse, this is not 2 here, A, and this is electric field E. This is electric field E. How this term will come, let me tell you, because you know that electric field is equal to V by L. You know this formula na? Potential per unit length is electric field. Potential, this actually potential can be written as E into L na guys. Potential can be written as E into L. So I have written here, and electric field I see. Actually this video I have made separately guys. You can see in my playlist this on electric current and all density, all these things I have defined in detail. So I'm not going to discuss all these things here right now because it will take unnecessarily too much time. If you want to understand those things in detail, you can refer to my video. So guys, actually what I want to tell you, how you can calculate this electrical resistance here. So in the formula, actually when you write E is equal to V by L, so from here V can be written as I into R na guys, Ohm's law, by L. So this R can be written as E into L by I. So I, when you substitute from here the value which you have calculated here, so E L upon N E square tau by M into A, when you substitute here the value this, you get the resistance value R is equal to rho L by A, where rho is also a constant depend, and the formula is M Ne square tau by M. So this I have written here. See, this is A by L, this is A by L, and rho is nothing but, I can written rho as nothing but M by Ne square tau. You can see that this term is nothing but rho. This term is nothing but rho guys, rho. This term is actually sigma. This term is sigma. Or I can say that rho is here from rho M by Ne square tau. So can I write this as actually guys E into L divided by A into 1 by rho. This becomes rho L by A, and rho L by A, then this becomes V by E. So you can say that R is equal to rho L by A on comparing. So R can be written as rho L by A. In short, if I want to justify all the points, what I can say that guys, sigma, you have to remember the formula current as, this is final conclusion I am telling you, current as NEAV drift. Okay, first formula you should remember this one. Now second formula, R is equal to rho L by A, where rho can be written as M by Ne square tau L by A. So resistance depends upon guys, what I want to tell you, why I have discussed all these things. Resistance depends upon length. Resistance inversely proportional to 1 by area of cross section. Resistance also depends upon temperature guys, because this tau relaxation time is a function of temperature. This tau as a function of temperature you have to keep in mind, and that is why resistance, if you have to calculate resistance of conductor is, conductor has positive temperature coefficient of resistance, means if temperature increases, resistance of conductor increases. You should keep in mind, that is most important, semiconductor has negative temperature coefficient of resistance. Semiconductor has negative temperature coefficient of resistance. That means if temperature is increasing, resistance is decreasing. Temperature increasing, resistance decreasing. And that is why guys, semiconductor, when temperature, you are increasing the temperature, resistance decreases such that actually the value, if you are considering 0 Kelvin, semiconductor behaves as insulator, and if you increase the temperature like 300 Kelvin or above, so this temperature is increasing guys, here temperature is increasing here, so resistance decreases, so conductivity increases, so semiconductor becomes conductor. So from this you can conclude this point. So whatever the conclusion is, that I is equal to NEV drift, R is equal to rho L by A, resistance depends upon length, is inversely proportional to area of cross section, is temperature is a function of temperature, and resistance can also depend upon the material of the conductor. Suppose this, I have changed this rho, the material of the conductor, resistance will be changed. So these are the factors which you have to remember here. Now guys, next point we have to discuss this. So we have written all this point one by one, what I said earlier. See this rho, I said you know guys, 2 is by mistake, this 2 is not there in formula. So rho is equal to M upon Ne square tau. This is can be written 1 by sigma, that I have already discussed. This I have written already, M upon this, and sigma, this rho is resistivity, sigma is conductivity. Ohm's law, you all know that I is proportional to V. I is equal to G times of some constant V, then G is 1 by R into V, and that's why V is equal to IR. This is Ohm's law. Now guys, temperature dependence of how resistance depends on temperature. So RT is equal to R naught 1 plus alpha delta T. You should remember this formula also. Now power can be written as I square R, or you can write I square R multiplied by R divided by R. So this becomes I square R square by R. This becomes V square by R. So the power formula is either I square R or V square by R, or you can also write V into I. Product of voltage into current is equal to power. Heat can be written as C. This is nothing but guys, another thing is that if you multiply power with time, so this, what you know, that work done is equal to P by T na? W is equal to rate of doing work. Rate of doing work is power na? So if you multiply time with power, so do you get work done? So multiply by T, you will get heat produced by conductor. Multiply by T, you get heat produced by the conductor. Multiply by T. So this formula, heat is I square RT VIT or V square by R into T. This heat, in sometimes they will ask you how to calculate the total number of unit, how much unit and how much cost of electricity. So this type of question is asked in class 10th, not in JEE. Kirchhoff's current law and Kirchhoff's voltage law, these are two most important laws. So Kirchhoff's current law is what all about? See, suppose I have some junction. This is a junction or node or junction, you can say that. So if in this junction current I1 is coming, current I2 is coming, current I3 and I4 are outgoing. Incoming current, I am writing I1 is incoming current, I1 is incoming current, I2 is incoming current, I3 and I4 are outgoing current. So sum of incoming current is equal to sum of outgoing current. I can write I1 plus I2 is equal to I3 plus I4. This is Kirchhoff's current law. This Kirchhoff's current law is basically conservation of energy. Conservation of charge, sorry. This Kirchhoff current law is conservation of charge. Kirchhoff voltage law is conservation of energy. This is conservation of energy. Algebraic sum of all the potential differences across a closed loop, you can say that 0. Algebraic sum of all the potential differences across a closed loop is 0. So I can say that, suppose I have taken a circuit like this, guys. I have taken a circuit like this. This potential difference is V1. This is V2. So I can write V is minus V plus V1 plus V2 is equal to 0. Or if this is R1, this is R2, I can also write minus V plus I current, since C in series current is same, I R1 plus I R2 is equal to 0. So V is equal to I R1 plus I R2. So this is actually Kirchhoff's voltage law, KVL. Combination of resistance, as you have studied in class 10th, R is equal to R1 plus R2 plus R3 up to Rn, and in series current is same, in series current is same, and potential difference added, like I have added here, in there this resistance are in series, so I have added the potential difference V is equal to V1 plus V2. In parallel, potential difference is same, so you can say that current divided here. So in parallel, what you can write, suppose these resistance are in parallel, so you can write this current I can be divided into I1, I2 and I3. So you can write I is equal to I1 plus I2 plus I3. I can be written as V by R equivalent is equal to V by R1 plus V by R2 plus V by R3. Since potential difference is same, so I can cancel out, get this result. Okay. Now Wheatstone bridge, sometimes they have asked this question, but not in this format, guys. So they have asked Wheatstone bridge in this format, so you have to recognize the circuit which is Wheatstone bridge or not. They will ask you circuit like this. So this is same, if you make this circuit like this, now this is same Wheatstone bridge. So there is no current flowing through this one. So you can say that this, if R1 by R2 is equal to R4, here R4 by R3. Actually, if you write in sequence, so you write R3 by R4 here. So you can also write R3 by R4 if this condition is satisfied. This resistance by this resistance upon this resistance by this resistance, this Wheatstone bridge is said to be balanced. And in the case of balance Wheatstone bridge, no current flow through 0. There is no current flow through this resistance. You can open it and directly you can write R1 and R2 in series. R3 and R4 in series and they are in parallel. So this combination in series, this combination in series, and they are in parallel. Right? This way you can find the things. If resistance, if the Wheatstone bridge is not balanced, guys, then how to solve those questions? That is very interesting fact. Actually, you should know that. Suppose if this Wheatstone is not balanced, so what we will do, you will put a current I here. This current, suppose some current I1 is going here, so this current I minus I1 is coming here. So you can say by symmetry, you can say that actually this current will go through this branch, which is actually nothing but, actually let it be anything, so that sum of the current will become I only. So you can say that this I minus I1 current will come here, because some current will come here, definitely guys, some current will come here, and this current I will go here. So sum of these things. Now in order to solve these things, I just tell you the simple method. Apply the nodal analysis here. What is nodal analysis? Suppose I have chosen a node, let it be node C I have taken. So node C when I have taken, so I'll write node voltage VC, and this voltage I have written E, and this voltage I have written 0. So I can write, guys, the current, all current I'll take outgoing, let it be I1, let it be I2, let it be I3. So I can write I1 plus I2 plus I3 is equal to 0, because sum of all outgoing current. So this can be written as VC minus E by R1 plus VC minus VD, let this potential be anything, VD upon R5 plus VC minus 0 by R2 is equal to 0. First equation you can write from here. Now I have taken the node VD. This I have taken by node this. Let it be current I4, I5 and I6. So I can write I4 plus I5 plus I6 is equal to 0. Now you can write this voltage as VD minus VE by R4 plus VD minus VC, VD minus VC by R5 plus you can write VD minus 0 by R3 is equal to 0. So if Wheatstone bridge is not balanced, choose this method to solve this question. This is very important concept, but this they will not ask in JEE, they ask simple question. So that is the thing you have to keep in mind. Now guys, grouping of cells. Suppose this is series grouping. In series grouping, you can simply say that E equivalent is equal to E1 plus E2 plus E3 up to En. Okay, and resistance, they are in series, so R equivalent can be written as R1 plus R2 plus R3. So if in place of this all, if you make one battery and one resistance, this is equivalent one. Resistance in parallel, this is very important. This you can also solve by nodal analysis. Let it be this voltage is V, this voltage is 0. So you can write V minus 0 by, or V minus, suppose this battery is E1, so V minus E1 by R1 plus V minus E2 by R2 plus V minus E3 by R3 up to V minus En by Rn is equal to 0. You can write is equal to 0 when you write. So you will write V by R1 plus V by R2 plus dot dot V by Rn. I can write this as nothing but E1 by R1 plus E2 by R2 plus up to En by Rn, and V when you take divide this voltage equivalent, it will come E1 by R1 plus E2 by R2 plus En by Rn upon 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2. This I have taken V common from here, 1 by R1 plus R2, that's remain here. So you need not to remember this formula, you need to apply just nodal analysis, where I have taken this V here, all the current going outside from the circuit I have written. This you should keep in mind. This battery is like this they have given in polarity which is subtracting. So this is V minus E1, V minus E2 like this. Ammeter and voltmeter, two devices which can be made by galvanometer. So galvanometer can be converted into ammeter if you take a shunt resistance. Galvanometer is connected to ammeters. If you are connecting in shunt resistance, then shunt resistance of very high value is not required. This value should be low. This value should be very low. You have to keep in mind shunt resistance value must be very low in order to convert. This is a galvanometer, my guy. This is my galvanometer. If you have to convert into ammeter, you have to take shunt resistance of very low value RS. Now ammeter is represented by this A, Ammeter, suppose I have taken the current I is flowing through this, so this I is divided into two parts. So the galvanometric current is Ig and this current is I minus Ig I have taken. So you can say that in parallel potential difference is same, na? So this Ig into Rg is the potential difference across this. Is can be written as I minus Ig into this galvanometric resistance or shunt resistance S. So from here you calculate this value of S. The value of S will come Ig Rg 1 minus I minus Ig. Okay, shunt resistance is the value which shunt resistance value is very low. You have to keep in mind, in order to convert ammeter into galvanometer, galvanometer into ammeter, you require a shunt resistance. Okay, now voltmeter, guys, in order to convert galvanometer as a voltmeter, you require a series resistance of very high value. Series resistance of very high value you will get to convert ammeter into voltmeter, galvanometer into voltmeter. So guys, I can say that if they are in series, so I can say that potential I will add across this one. So let Ig current is flowing through. So Ig Rg plus R into Ig is equal to voltage across resistance. So this voltmeter you can calculate by this method. Now most important device, and I predict that, guys, potentiometer is one of the most important topic which is being asked in many times in JEE, and this time also they will touch this topic. So potentiometer is basically a wire, and it is of from 1 to 10 meter long wire. See, this is very long wire. So it is actually mounted on tabletop. So you will see this type of arrangement they have in diagrams. This type of arrangement you will see this complicated structure, but they have made just simple structure like this. Now how this galvanometer works, what is the why potentiometer is used, and how this potentiometer works, we will understand here. Since voltmeter, which is actually I have made galvanometer as voltmeter, this has some resistance actually, and because of this galvanometer reading of, I can write reading of voltmeter is not 100% accurate. Voltmeter is not accurate. So this accuracy you can make up to 100% with the help of this potentiometer. So how potentiometer works, guys? I know that V is equal to IR, and I can be written as R can be written as rho L by A. So can I say that, guys, this V by L is nothing but I rho by A. So you see carefully here, current that is flowing through this V by L is known as K, potential gradient. This potential gradient is nothing but I rho by A. So potentiometer works on the principle that if you potentiometer actually potential difference per unit length you have to calculate first, and this potential difference per unit length you will take into account to calculate any suppose I calculate this value as, guys, 20 volt per meter, 20 volt per meter, and I got a suppose second, I will discuss what is secondary circuit and all these things. Suppose a galvanometer is showing deflection at a distance of 10 meter, at a distance of 10 meter. So how much potential difference occurred, guys? So I can multiply it by 10. So let it be that will be 200, na? So that value will be 200. So 200 volt is drop across this. So this is the principle, working principle of potentiometer. So first we will calculate this V by L. I have made a video, I think, on this potentiometer also. So you can, if you have time, you can watch there, but I suggest you no need to go there. Just revise this concept. So you will calculate first K, and according to the value of K you can find out anything. Suppose, guys, I have taken this is my secondary circuit. See, this is my secondary, this is primary circuit, this is primary circuit consists battery, and actually in primary circuit there is one variable resistors also, means this resistor is not like this is variable resistor, guys. You can vary this resistance also. So E by R, E and R are internal resistance and potential of this primary circuit, and I have taken the one circuit E1 R1. So actually here you will use two switch, one switch you will put here and one switch you will put here. This is, let it be E2, and this resistance E2, the E1 R1, E2 R2. Okay guys, so I can say that if you will compare this, first you will calculate value of K. Suppose after some length L1, this, when you connected this switch, this upper switch, and this switch open, when you kept this switch open and this switch close, so the potential difference I got the length E1 is equal to this. E2 similarly I can, when I open this and close this, I got K into L2. So E1 by E2 is equal to L1 by L2 you can do. So this is the, with the help of potentiometer we can compare between two cells, or EMF of two cell can be compared. Only the thing is that guys, if you know the length corresponding to which actually this galvanometer is showing zero deflection, so E1 by E2 is equal to L1 by L2. Even you can find internal resistance, you can find current with the help of this. Internal resistance you can find with the help of this. See how? Suppose you have to calculate internal resistance of this battery is R dash. So this R dash can be written as L1 minus L2 upon L2 into R. I think 2017 or 18 JEE asked direct question on this formula. So you can say that 40 and 52 centimeter, like that formula. So you can directly calculate internal resistance with the help of this. So ammeter and voltmeter can be graduated by potentiometer. Ammeter and voltmeter can be calibrated by potentiometer. Meter bridge again important of. So in potentiometer you have to remember two result only, E1 by E2 comparison of is equal to L1 by L2, and this internal resistance R dash is L1 minus L2 upon L2 into R. Now meter bridge is a this combination guys. This is a resistance box, or you have some standard resistance here, standard value of resistance, and this is unknown resistance. You can calculate this unknown resistance in terms of this standard resistance. How? This you have taken 1 meter length, 1 meter length you have taken. Suppose galvanometer showing deflection 0 at this point, so this length you have taken from this end is L. Since total length is 100 centimeter or 1 meter, so this length is 100 minus L na? So directly use the principle of Wheatstone bridge. This resistance, let it be R upon L is equal to, or you can write PQ also, but I have written R upon L is equal to some unknown X upon 100 minus L. So you can directly write R by X is equal to L by 100 minus L. So they have written like this, same thing guys. So PQ if you are taking, so P by Q is equal to nothing but L by 100 minus L. So they have written P by Q is equal to L by this. I have taken, they have taken this P and this as Q. I have taken this R and this as X. So R by X is L by 100 minus this, or P by Q is L by 100 minus this. Now this is a condition to, actually this is a meter bridge works on the principle of balanced Wheatstone bridge also. So galvanometer. Now next topic is capacitance. You know that how much charge will accumulate through the, suppose if you have taken two plates which is kept parallel to each other, and you have applied some potential here across this. So what will happen guys, actually after some time it will be charged positively and it will be negatively charged. So how much charge will accumulate to this capacitor depends upon this potential difference, how much potential difference you are applying across this. So Q is proportional to V. So you can write Q is equal to C into V. This proportionality constant is capacitance. So representation of capacitor, either you see this representation or this. You cannot make this like this. This is not capacitor guys, this is voltage. They are equal in size. You are saying these are equal in size. And if like this is twisted one, so this is also a capacitor. Now what is the type of capacitors you have to study? There are three types of capacitor in your syllabus: parallel plate capacitor, spherical capacitor, and cylindrical capacitor. Capacitance of parallel plate is nothing but guys A epsilon naught by D, where if this is parallel plate capacitor, A is area of cross section of the plate, A is area of cross section, D is the distance between the plate, and epsilon naught, you know that value of epsilon naught is 8.85 into 10 to the power minus 12 farad per meter, like that. Now one thing I want to tell you here, suppose if you introduce some dielectric here, dielectric having constant dielectric constant K, so capacitance will be A epsilon naught by d multiply by this dielectric constant time k. So see this you have to write on introducing dielectric, capacitance increases by that amount of time which value of dielectric you have introduced. In parallel plate capacitor, this you have taken one capacitor of radius a, other capacitor of radius b. So you can write capacitance is equal to 4 pi epsilon naught into ab upon b minus a. If you are taking isolated place capacitor, one plate is at infinity, so this becomes 4 pi epsilon naught a. This capacitance reduces to this value. Again, on introducing dielectric, they are multiplied by k times. And last is cylindrical capacitor. Cylindrical capacitor, you can write capacitance per unit length is nothing but 2 pi epsilon naught by ln the b, which is the outer radius of the cylinder, upon a. Because log value cannot be negative, so you cannot take smaller by larger. This you have to keep in mind. So this is capacitance per unit length. So capacitance multiply this length will go the right side to multiplication and like this. Now guys, one thing you have to remember, energy density is nothing but half into epsilon naught into E square. Energy density, this is denoted by U. So in this formula you also have to keep in mind. So capacitance also, energy stored in a capacitor is half CV square. So half CV square, energy stored in a capacitor, and energy density, this is energy density, I have written energy density, this is energy stored in a capacitor, half CV square. And you know that is if you multiply by C, divide by C, this becomes Q square by 2C. These things you have to keep in mind in a capacitor. Now, when capacitance in series and capacitance in parallel, you have to keep in mind, I have taken these things here. So capacitance will be added like resistance in parallel. Same thing capacitance in series. So resistance in parallel you write now 1 by R equivalent is equal to 1 by R1 plus. So series capacitance you will write like that. And resistance in parallel you will write C1 plus C2 plus C3. You can solve some question actually given in previous year of JEE, that is not previous year, this whole year only. So they have given two capacitance C1 and C2. They have connected in series and parallel. Those they have given when they have connected in parallel, capacitance is 15 by 4 times of capacitance connected in series. So you can find the relation between C1, C2 and these things. This is the JEE previous year, the JEE this year paper of first session. Now guys, one thing you have to keep in mind, when this question many times they have asked, when two capacitors C1 and C2 are connected in this manner, so actually what will happen guys, you will apply the conservation of charge here. Total charge remains conserved. So suppose I can say that after connection, what is the value of common potential? You should remember this value. Common potential is C1 V1 plus C2 V2 upon C1 plus C2. If you forget this value, write center of mass formula M1 x1 plus M2 x2 divided by M1 plus M2 and replace this mass by capacitance. So C1 plus C2 and C1 V1 plus C2 V2. So this formula common potential when two capacitors are connected like this. And now guys, charge on each capacitor like Q1 dash or Q2 dash is what? Q1 dash or Q2 dash is what? So you can write charge C1 divided by C1 plus C2 upon total charge Q1 plus Q2. And this Q2 dash you can write C2V means C2 divided by C1 plus C2 divide these things. You have to keep in this mind. Direct result formula comes many a times. Okay. Now guys, next thing you have to keep in mind, force experienced by any plate of the capacitor. So you can say that this capacitor plate I already discussed in this lecture, that capacitor plate is sigma by 2 epsilon naught charge on any plate. This sigma by 2 epsilon naught, this sigma by 2 epsilon naught. So charge force you can write Q into E. Force you can write Q into E. So if you charge is if you multiply this by E, this gives you force experienced by this. So this can be written as guys, sigma is can be written as this is electric field, sorry, multiply by Q. Sigma can be written as Q by area. So Q by area, I have written this sigma Q by A 2 epsilon naught into this Q. So this becomes Q square by 2A epsilon naught. This is force experienced by any plate of the capacitor. Now guys, one thing you have to keep in mind, what is heat loss when this direct formula question is asked. So this is half C1 C2 divided by C1 plus C2 V1 minus V2 whole square. when heat loss, when you combine two capacitor like this na, so what is the heat loss in the combination of the capacitor? So directly remember the result, half C1 C2 upon C1 plus C2 into V1 minus V2 whole square. Now you have to keep some result of RL circuit into mind. This is basically RLC circuit, but I have not taken the capacitance here, inductance here. So this Q is Q naught 1 minus e to the power minus t by tau, where tau is time constant, which can be written as R into C. So this formula you should remember, how much charge will stored on the capacitor after how much time. Directly you can use by this formula. Q is equal to Q naught 1 minus e to the power minus t by tau, and where I have written tau is C equivalent into C into R equivalent. Now you know that this is equal to Q is equal to Q naught minus Q naught e to the power minus t by tau. Now differentiate it, dq by dt, this is current basically. So this Q naught to constant will become out from the bracket, means 0 differentiation. Q naught e to the power minus t by tau upon minus 1 by tau na guys. So into 1 by tau means tau will become denominator, minus minus become plus. This minus and this minus, differentiation of this minus will become plus. You do it carefully, you will find this result, I is equal to Q naught by t e to the power minus t by tau, means exponentially. If you plot the graph, this graph you will find exponentially decreasing like this. I have plotted next this, and this graph is Q is equal to Q naught. This graph guys, Q is equal to Q naught at t is equal to 0. You can say that this value is 0 because t is equal to 0. When you put Q naught minus Q naught is equal to 0, and at t is equal to infinity, you can say that this will becomes Q naught actually, because Q is equal to Q naught minus Q naught e to the power minus t by tau na guys. At tau is equal to infinity, so what will happening, at t is equal to infinity, so this is infinity to power like this will becomes actually 0 na guys. So this Q becomes Q naught, so finally it becomes Q naught. And this I have made the graph of current, how much current is actually, I is equal to exponentially decreasing graph. This is Q naught by tau e to the power minus t by tau. Now if you introduce, I already told that if you introduce a dielectric, capacitance will be increased by that much amount of time. Now guys, this you have to remember as a result, rho b is equal to 1 minus rho into 1 minus k. Rho b of sigma b is equal to sigma 1 minus 1 by k, where k is dielectric constant. This actually you should remember that this is induced, so I can write one thing I want to tell you here. E induced is equal to E electric field inside is equal to E minus E induced. Earlier electric field is sigma by epsilon naught, now sigma b by epsilon naught. This sigma b value I have written here, sigma into 1 minus k. So now this is induced bound electric field, induced bound charge is there, and this is induced electric field. This formula you can directly remember as a solving for solving the numericals. Force on dielectric, suppose this is a capacitor plate and you have introduced the dielectric inside this capacitor. So like you can see here, the diagram is clear. When you have introduced dielectric here, so force which actually it will experience is nothing but this result, this directly result. This is given in S.C. Verma directly. The result I have taken, F is equal to epsilon naught b k minus 1 v square by 2d. B is the actually this width, you can say that this value, that's why I have make this diagram as like this. So this is B and this is D. D is the separation between these plates of capacitor. D is the separation between the plate of the capacitor, and B is potential difference what you are applying. And this, when battery is connected, you can use this result. When battery is not connected, you can use this result. D is equal to F is equal to Q square by 2C square dC by dx. These things once you have to revise guys. I suggest you revise these things. If they will twist the question, they can ask this question or this question. Next thing, alternating current guys. AC and DC. The current which periodically changes its value like this is AC, and the current which always remains constant, this is DC. So variable DC is like this because this is not changing its direction guys. This is not AC. Don't confuse. This is AC. This is DC. This is variable DC. This is AC again. This is AC also, because this is periodically changing the value. Root mean square value, you should directly remember that current I square dt. I, you have to function integrate from t1 to t2. Take square root of these things upon this time average, means t2 minus t1 you have to take. This is the value of average velocity. RMS speed. RMS is, suppose I is equal to I naught sine omega t given plus whatever the given guys. So its RMS value is I naught by root 2. Keep in mind this. You can calculate by this using this result. Average value is nothing but, you can write in P dt, power consumed. So how much power it will dissipate, how much power DC will dissipate if same amount of current is passed through AC. That is the comparison of power. This is average power. So I have written P dt 0 to 2 pi by omega by 2 pi by omega. So you can say that half V maximum I maximum into cos phi. So you can also write this maximum velocity RMS. In terms of RMS, how you will write? Vm by root 2 Im by root 2, because maximum value is by root 2 is this is cos phi. Why? Because guys, this I have written 1 by 2, I have taken 1 by root 2 into 1 by root 2 I have written, and Vm Im. So this 1 by root 2 I have taken here, this root 2 I have, so that's why I have written this formula as V RMS I RMS cos phi. This is the value of average power consumed, this thing. So this cos phi is power factor guys. This cos phi is power factor, you should keep in mind. Now impedance Z is equal to V maximum upon I maximum, or if you divide by root 2 both sides, so this becomes V RMS upon I RMS. Now one thing you have to, they have asked once wattless current. What is wattless current? So I maximum into sin phi is wattless current, and cos phi is power factor. Na? Cos phi is power factor, which we have seen here. This cos phi is power factor. We will calculate power factor R by Z, all these things. So now only purely resistive circuit is there if na guys. So you can write power is equal to V RMS square divided by R, because there is no any other component. In purely resistive circuit, current and voltage are in same phase. Voltage and current are in same phase. Capacitive circuit, if you are writing, so I is equal to Vm by xc into cos omega t, or you can write this is nothing but Vm by cos, can be xc can be 1 by omega c cos omega t. This is capacitive reactance. In capacitor, current lead. See this see what is leading means guys. So this is the voltage, and leading means, see this current start, if voltage start from 0, current start from 90 degree. This is leading current. So capacitor current leads voltage by 90 degree. So IC leads by VC by 90 degree. So this, if you are writing IE here, you can write voltage in capacitor here like this. So now you can say that guys, since they are lagging by 90 degree, so power consumed by the capacitor is nothing but V into I into cos 90 degree, which is 0. Same case in inductor. Inductor I can write current. Suppose this is inductive circuit. Inductor is like coil. So I can write Vm upon XL cos of omega t like this. So this is Vm upon omega into L cos omega t. In inductor, capacitor voltage will lead. So guys, in inductor, what is the difference? You will write this as I, this is V, means voltage will lead by 90 degree. So the diagram once you make, if you taking Im here, so this is voltage across inductor. So in RLC circuit, how you can draw? This is voltage across inductor, voltage across capacitor, this is voltage across resistor, and current I in the same page. So when you take the resultant, this will be VL minus VC, and this is actually VR. Resultant will be what guys? VL minus VC whole square plus VR square is equal to this V square. And if you calculate anything like that, let it be phi cos phi, you can write VR upon VL minus VC. This you can calculate, anything you can calculate with the help of this. One thing you should remember, condition of resonance. In resonance, omega L is equal to 1 by omega c, or I can say XL is equal to XC. So omega square is equal to 1 by LC. So omega is equal to 1 by under root LC. This is the condition of resonance, guys. Okay. Now magnetic field is the next chapter. Magnetic field due to point charge. B can be, this is from Biot-Savart's law. And this is a conductor carrying current I. So at any point, if you have to calculate magnetic field, B is equal to mu naught by 4 pi into Q V cross R by R cube. But this can be modified in the form and written can be as mu naught I by 4 pi dl cross R upon R cube. So IDL cross R, IDL is current element. So one thing, some points I have taken from NCERT, guys, directly I have written. So when you see these things, this formula of Biot-Savart's law, because IDL cross R, you can write this as DLR sine theta. Here Biot-Savart law depends on this angle dependency on Biot-Savart law, which is not in electric field. Electric field there is no angle dependency, k q1 q2 divided by, because I have written electric field is produced by a charge which is a scalar quantity, and magnetic field is produced by current element, not current element IDL, which is a vector quantity. IDL is a vector quantity. So guys, this magnetic field depends upon vector, and electric field does not depends upon any angle. So this magnetic field dependence on angle, and I have written electric field is along displacement vector joining source and field. So but magnetic field is perpendicular to the plane containing displacement, and that is why here you require the angle to calculate. Now this result you directly remember, B is equal to mu naught by 4 pi I by R sin theta 1 plus sin theta 2. Suppose this is infinite length wire, guys. So theta 1, theta 2 90 degree. This becomes mu naught I by 2 pi R. Directly you can write for infinite length wire, B is equal to mu naught I by 2 pi R. At center you can say that magnetic field is nothing but mu naught N I by 2R, number of turns. Usually this is given 1. So mu naught I by 2R. The difference between infinite length wire formula and this formula is that only pi is there in this formula, no pi is there. Okay guys, so keep in mind mu naught I by 2R here, mu naught I by 2 pi R. No, don't forget pi in parallel in infinite wire, otherwise it will be wrong. This formula we have already discussed in that electric field, and because of ring, you remember R square plus x square power 3 by 2. The difference is that in ring we have written kqx divided by R square plus x square to the power 3 by 2. But here in place of this I can write mu naught by 2 ni R square. Here R square I have written R square plus x square to the power by 3 by 2. This formula you should remember. Magnetic field on the axis of solenoid, you should remember mu naught Ni by 2 cos theta 1 minus cos theta 2. Suppose if theta 1 becomes 0 and theta 2 becomes 90 degree, so this becomes mu naught Ni by 2. So at the center you can say that it is mu naught Ni, at the end mu naught Ni by 2. So these things you have to keep in mind, guys. Okay, now Ampere's is the same as Gauss law. Integration of E dot ds is equal to q in by epsilon naught, as we have written there. So integration of B dot dl in place of EB, and this is line integral. This is actually surface integral. This is surface integral, guys. This is line integral, is equal to mu naught into I. This is also same application as Gauss law we have seen. Like this cylinder, if you are writing integration of B dot dl is equal to mu naught into I, you will write, no? So you will say that this length is equal to 2 pi b into 2 pi R. In length I have integrated throughout, this is equal to mu naught I. So you can write B is equal to mu naught I by 2 pi R, which I have written here if R is greater than R. Now very important formula, this is F is equal to Q V cross B. Magnetic force is applicable only when charge is moving. So charge, if it is rest, guys, velocity is equal to 0, force, magnetic force will be 0. So any stationary charge will not experience any magnetic force. So only moving charges can experience magnetic force. So guys, I have written here, whenever you throw a charge particle like this, it will moving in a circle. So I can say that radius, actually you can also say that force is equal to q v cross b na, so q v b sine theta. You can write this, and this is nothing but mv square by r, because this force is providing required centrifugal force, required centripetal force. So this v square and v cancel, so radius and mv square by r, you can write mv by qvb. See, sorry, this r is equal to mv by qb. So this r is equal to mv by qb. Unit you should remember, guys, b unit is Tesla, or 1 Tesla can be written 10 to the power 4 Gauss. Earth magnetic field is all about to 3.6 into 10 to the power minus 5. Now guys, actually time period you have to calculate. T is equal to, can I say that 2 pi r by v, 2 pi r by v, but radius I have calculated mv by qb. I am writing 2 pi r means mv by qb into v na? So this v we cancel, 2 pi m by qb. So radius does not depends upon the velocity with which the particle is moving. Time period does not depend upon the velocity with which particle is thrown. So no matter if you are throwing particle with 10 meter per second or 100 meter per second, the time period will be same. So the 10 meter per second will constitute smaller circle, 100 meter will constitute larger circle, because guys, this radius depends upon this velocity. So radius depend upon velocity, time period is independent on velocity. Now if they have to calculate pitch, what is pitch, guys? Pitch is nothing but, first of all, we have multiplied time period with the velocity parallel. So which parallel velocity? I can say that this is v cos theta na? So I have multiplied this term by v cos theta, so this got pitch. Like if you remember range you have to calculate na, u cos theta into t. So similarly pitch you can calculate u cos theta into this t. So this is pitch, guys. Okay, now this formula is known as Lorentz force. F is equal to QE plus QV cross B, and you know that if Lorentz force is 0 on the particle, so E is equal to V cross B. So velocity can be written as ratio of electric field by magnetic field. This is most important result which you can write. If they ask you the dimension of E by B, electric field and magnetic field, don't confuse, guys. This dimension is LT minus 1. This is the unit of velocity only. Okay, now magnetic torque, like in electrostatics I also not mention torque and potential energy, so I am mentioning this torque and potential energy here, guys. Okay, so let me write torque and potential energy expression here. So guys, torque can be written as r cross f. You are familiar with this na? So torque can be written as p cross e in electrostatics. Okay guys, so p sine theta, and potential energy u is differentiation of this na? So this becomes minus pe cos theta. This is the torque in electrostatics. But torque in magnetism, you write m cross b. This is magnetic moment and magnetic field. That is torque can be written mb sine theta. Now guys, one thing you have to keep in mind, when differentiating these things now, you get potential energy. Potential energy is minus again m dot b, your mb cos theta, you can write mb cos theta, m dot b. Potential energy is dot product and torque is cross product. You should keep in mind. What is m? M is magnetic moment, NIA means current multiplied by area. Sometimes they can ask you the magnetic moment only. So current, they will give you area pi r square if circular type of structure, or you can say that a square if that is square, like that. So magnetic moment you can calculate, and torque is equal to nothing but m cross b, guys. Torque is nothing but m cross b. Now because of dipole, you can write magnetic field is nothing but mu naught m by 4 pi r square, and this is the thing which you have to, magnetic field on the axis of magnet is mu naught 4 pi 2 m by r cube. Equatorial position, see guys, this is same like electric field we have calculated na? Equatorial position. This general result you can write that this is actually because a magnet behaves as a dipole, because this has south and north pole. So this is minus charge if you are in plus q charge. So this behave a dipole at any point P. If you have to calculate magnetic field, you can write this is some constant, mu naught by 4 pi is the constant. Like they have written, there we have written a kp by r cube under root 1 plus 3 cos square theta. If you have not seen this lecture, this you can see the quick revision of second lecture. So that is kp by, here I can replace this m by this m only. So this, if axial position means at this position theta is equal to, that's why axial position it becomes 90, theta is equal to 0 no? See axial, this is axial position, theta becomes 0 degree. So theta becomes 0, this becomes mu naught by 4 pi 2m by r cube, and at equatorial position theta becomes 90 degrees. So this is the formula. Now guys, electromagnetic induction, two laws you have to remember. Faraday's two law. First, Faraday's law is basically nothing. Whenever you change the suppose this is a coil, and this is a magnet. Whenever magnet is bring towards the coil or bring taken away from the coil, and EMF is induced, the induced EMF is equal to d phi by dt. This negative sign because of Lenge's law. Lenge's law is basically conservation of energy, and magnetic flux phi you can write E dot ds. Okay, B dot ds. Now, according to Lenge's law, this Lenge's law says that it opposes its own cause. Suppose if you are bringing magnet here, na, north pole of magnet you are bringing, this will behaves as a north pole, so it will repel. So it is opposing its own cause. Na, this north pole has produced north pole in this, but this north pole has produced this north, bringing of this north pole closer, produce current in this, and now what it is doing, it is again becoming north, so that it is repelling, so it is opposing its own cause. Now you have to keep, when you rotate the disc, so EMF induced on a rotating disc is nothing but B omega r square by 2. Very important result, you have to use this as a formula. So when field is varying, what is the electric field and magnetic field relation? E is equal to r by 2 dV by dt. Self inductance is nothing but L di by dt. So this I have written L di by dt. So L is Li is n phi. Li you know that is equal to n phi. So I can also write this as n phi by dt. So EMF is equal to minus L di by dt. EMF is equal, you know that EMF is equal to minus d phi by dt. Now this you know this. So let number of turns be n, dn phi by, and n I can write n into phi is equal to Li. So EMF is equal to L di by dt. Now inductor in series, inductor in parallel. Inductor, voltage across inductor you can write L di by dt. Inductor in series, same like resistance, like L1 plus L2 if they are series, this is L1 L2, and they are in parallel, like same. Inductor and resistance same, parallel, capacitance or opposite. Okay guys, so growth of current, like we have discussed that thing in RC circuit, same is our E by R 1 minus e to the power minus R by t. Well, you can also write E by R 1 minus e to the power minus t by tau, where tau is time constant for RL circuit is L by R. Time constant for RL circuit is L by R. So this is t by tau. Now this is the graph. Again we have not to discuss this all things in detail. So current is equal to, in that case, Q and I have written same result will come for here. Now mutual inductance N phi is equal to, you know that N phi is equal to Li. So mutual inductance N phi is equal to Mi. So similarly, you know that L di by dt is equal to this V is voltage across the inductor. So this can be written like this. So series, then L1 plus L2. If they, you have to take mutual inductance and they are coupled in the same direction. Like if this is one coupling and this is one coupling, this is actually, guys, I can write L1 plus L2 plus twice M. But if this dot is just kept above like this, here current is entering and current is leaving, so this becomes L1 plus L2 minus 2M. This you have to keep in mind. So this true formula. Parallel, I said that earlier, that's the same. Now M, you should remember this result, mutual inductance relation with this L1 L2. M is equal to K under root L1 L2. And transformer formula is very important. Transformer, this is actually number of turns in primary side, number of turns in secondary. S stand for secondary, M, P stand for primary. So I am just not writing these things, guys. I am writing V1 in primary, V2 in secondary, current I1 in primary, I2 in secondary, and number of turns N1 in primary, N2 in secondary. So I can write V1 by V2, see guys, is equal to N1 by N2 is equal to I2 by I1. This you have to keep in mind result. Means voltage and number of turns are directly in the same ratio, and current is in inverse ratio. This is I have written in LC oscillation, omega square is equal to 1 by LC. Now in case of geometrical optics, guys, I must be equal to R, means angle of incidence must be equal to angle of reflection. Distance of object from the mirror is distance of image from the mirror. So this you can simply say that, and line joining the point object and image is normal to the reflecting surface. These are the properties. And you know that guys, actually a plane mirror where object distance object is kept 5 meter, so image will be also formed at 5 meter. Now guys, the question is that plane mirror can form real image or not. The question is that plane mirror, actually you know that plane mirror forms actually virtual image, same size, at a distance which is in front of mirror, same distance behind the mirror. But guys, can, my question is, can plane mirror forms real image? Answer is yes, plane mirror can forms real image for converging rays, or for converging ray or virtual object. For virtual object or converging ray, plane mirror can form a real image. Now guys, you know that 1 by b plus 1 by u is equal to 1 by f. F can be written as r by 2. So this formula is mirror formula. Now this I have taken in detail. If you differentiating it, minus 1 by b square du by dt, I'm not going to discuss because I have discussed this in detail in my lectures of NTSC and NSCGS first lecture. I have discussed these things guys. Okay. Now magnification is height of image upon height of object, hi upon hoi, right? And this magnification is equal to minus v by u in case of mirror. In case of lenses guys, magnification is plus v by u. Okay, so that differentiation that I am talking about, this dv by du is equal to minus v square by u square. When you differentiate it, minus duv by this same, this will become 0 na? So what I can write guys, this minus 1 by u square. So dv by, suppose dt you are writing like this, so you can write minus v square by u square, du by dt is dv by dt. This we have discussed in detail. The velocity with which image is moving is equal to my magnification square. I am writing velocity with which image is moving is magnification square is speed with which object is traveling. So this you have to keep in mind, object velocity and image velocity relation. Now guys, one Newton formula is xy into is equal to f square, where x and y are the distances of the object and image respectively from the principal focus, not principal axis. This is principal focus guys. Directly result based question is asked. Power is nothing but 1 by f. Power is nothing but 1 by f. This f must be in meter. If you are not writing meter, 100 by f. If I am writing in centimeter, this you have to keep in mind. Now longitudinal magnification is v2 minus v1 upon u2 minus u1. This is very important result. Mu speed, mu is equal to refractive index is nothing but speed of light in vacuum upon speed of light in medium. So Snell's law says that mu and product of mu and sine of angle is constant, like mu1 sine I is equal to mu2 sine r. Mu1 sine I is equal to mu2 sine r. So you can write sine I by sine r is equal to mu2 by mu1. So mu of second medium with respect to first medium. This mu2 by mu1 can be also written as guys v1 by v2, because you know that mu1 v inverse relation. So mu2 is v1 by v2 and this can be written lambda 1 by lambda 2. This you have to keep in mind. Now guys, deviation is what actually when mirror object is image is falling. So this angle is theta with which of this point light is making with this axis. So if deviation you have to calculate na guys, suppose deviation you have to calculate na, so this the ray should go like this na, the ray should go like this. But actually if this is mirror or polish, the ray will go like this na. So deviation is nothing but this guys, deviation is nothing but this. So you can write this is delta is equal to pi minus 2i, means pi minus 2i you can write as a delta formula. Now apparent shift, you can calculate this apparent shift is nothing but d into 1 minus 1 by mu. You can say that this is relative refractive index, this is relative refractive index of the medium. Directly you can use, or if parallel objects are kept, so if there are composite slab kept like this, there you can write t1 by mu1. Suppose this is I take a mu1 mu2 mu3, t1 by mu1 plus t2 by mu2 plus t3 by mu3, like this you can add to up to observer. Okay, so apparent shift is one minus this thing, so I have written 1 minus 1 by mu1 plus 1 minus 1 by mu2 into t1 into t2, and like this you have to keep as a result also, because the video size is becoming too large guys. So I'm just giving some short things. So sine this is total angle, total internal reflection and critical angle. Suppose guys, when light is falling and angle is greater than critical angle, so this light will return in the same direction. This is known as total internal reflection. For total internal reflection to take place, light must enter from denser medium to rarer medium, and angle must be greater than critical angle. This angle must be greater than theta, must be greater than theta critical. What is critical angle? The angle of incidence for which reflection becomes 90 degree. This is angle, critical angle. So this is critical angle, this theta c, and angle must be greater than critical angle for total internal reflection to take place. Now one thing you have to keep in mind, in prism the formula deviation delta can be written, this delta can be written as guys I plus E minus A. And in case of minimum deviation, this graph you should keep in mind, they have asked one graph once, and in case of minimum deviation, mu can be written as sine A plus delta m by 2 upon sine A by 2. Sine A plus delta m by 2 upon sine A by 2. This formula you can directly use. And for thin lenses, this or this mu minus 1 into A. For thin thin prism, mu minus 1 into A you can write. Dispersion, this Cauchy's formula you have to keep in mind. Dispersion is actually guys the splitting of light when you pass this white light through this prism. So they will constituent colors Vi, B, Gy over. So guys, red has a maximum wavelength, deviation actually of or dispersion of this is less. So dispersion you have to keep in mind, dispersive power. Dispersive power, this is for mu for violet minus mu for red upon mu for yellow minus 1. This dispersive power I have discussed in my lectures, so you can say that lecture from there, dispersive power. And angular deviation, dispersion, this you can say that combination of prism, if two or more prism actually getting added. So guys, this cannot be asked in JEE because this is not in the syllabus of JEE means. Now actually this they have just removed. So this is mu2 by B minus mu1 by U is equal to mu2 minus mu1 by R. Spherical surface I am taking, and this is the formula of refraction through spherical surface. Now one thing which is actually lens maker formula you have to keep in mind, this is 1 by F, 1 by B minus 1 by U. In case of lens we write 1 by B minus 1 by U is equal to 1 by F is equal to mu relative minus 1 by R1 minus 1 by R2. What is relative refractive index? Lens upon medium guys, mu of lens upon mu of medium. So this you have written as this formula as F1 by F is equal to 1 by F1 plus 1 by F2. Now optical instrument magnification is the least distance of distinct vision upon U naught. And for object at infinity you can magnification 1 d by f, and on near distance 1 plus d by f. For compound microscope, length they have asked many times, so length is v0 plus ue object, and this is objective, and this is eyepiece. O stand for objective, this E stand for eyepiece. So L is equal to v0 plus fe. This formula you should keep in mind, or L d is equal to v0 plus d fe upon d plus this. Now if magnification I am talking about same as like this 1 plus d by f, you have written 1 plus d by f v0 upon u0 d by f na. So just v0 u by u0 you will multiply. In this formula just v0 upon u0 you will multiply, you get the result v0 upon u0 d by ue. So all the things you have just multiply v0 by u0 in this formula. Now this astronomical telescope same like that, we in place of v0 by u0 you will let f0 by mu fe, f0 by fe. Okay, and same thing is there guys. So this formula just you should see once carefully, and some question on based on length of microscope and length of telescope they can ask. Resolving power is actually inversely proportional to wavelength. This you should 1 by refractive microscope resolving power is 2 refractive index sine theta by lambda. And this formula is most important formula. I can say that 3 times JEE asked the question based on this formula guys. R is equal to A by 1.22 lambda. This is for telescope. Now guys, last actually here I have not covered this Young's double slit experiment, which is most important topic guys. So beta fringe width you should remember lambda capital D by D, where actually suppose this is slit S1 and S2, and this is a screen, this is screen. So distance between slit I have taken small d, and this screen and slit distance is capital D, and y is lambda wavelength lambda So beta is equal to lambda capital D by D. You should keep this in mind. Constructive and destructive interference, this is fringe width. So for condition of constructive and destructive interference, you should just revise once. And this is the thing actually not possible to cover in this lecture, guys. So let me tell you that actually see, there's some point of optics which I want to discuss. Intensity resultant is this formula. This resultant intensity I1 plus I2 plus 2 bracket I1 plus I2 cos delta phi. For constructive interference, this is 1. So I can write under root I1 plus I2 whole square. For destructive interference, it is cos phi is -1. So this is -1. So I minimum, I maximum you can calculate. Young's double slit experiment, that I said that path difference actually, I told you path difference and phase difference will come in optics. Here they will ask, guys, path difference delta p, you can write nothing but d sine theta. Now actually the condition of maxima minima we have obtained that these things you should keep. So this beta is fringe width, which we have already discussed, guys. In order to calculate the maxima, so actually you have to equate this path difference with n lambda. Keep in mind, guys, in order to calculate path difference, you have to equate it n lambda in case of maximum, and in case of minimum you have to equate is 2n plus or minus 1 lambda by 2. 2n plus 1 or minus 1 lambda by 2 you can equate in case of minima. Path difference means delta x. Delta x is what, guys? I told you 2 pi by lambda into delta x is equal to phase difference. So this path difference you have to equate with n lambda first with for maxima, and 2n plus 1 lambda by 2 with for minima. This you have to keep in mind, guys. So this formula we have already discussed in one. Here I'm just, so this is for thin film interference, constructive for actually Brewster angle. This formula also you lob Malus you should keep in mind. I is equal to I naught cos square phi or cos square theta. You have to keep in mind, cos theta is missing here, so this theta is there. Okay, guys. So for diffraction formula, you can remember the linear width of central maxima is 2d small d lambda by a, and angular separation or angular width is 2 lambda by a. Okay, diffraction, the condition you should write just opposite of that Young's double slit experiment. For maxima you will write 2m plus 1 by 2 in is a sine theta, and for minima you can write this as m into resolving power is like that lambda upon lambda 2 minus lambda 1. Okay, guys, so some topic, right, I'll take in the next lecture. So I'm stopping here. Thank you, everyone.